Hello, everybody. So I'm pleased to be here with a very power woman panel. So the panel is dealing with the boys' club. But I suggest that we're going to transform that to how could we organize the women's club. So today I'm proud to be surrounded. So I'm Stéphanie Hospital, founder and CEO of One Rack Time. It's a VC, so we're investing in tech startups while building the platform to be able to scale our model like our entrepreneurs. I'm pleased to be surrounded by three women, amazing women. So Sophie Proust. So Sophie is the CEO, is the CTO, Chief Technical Officer, of Atos. We have also Rizlen Amrani. So Rizlen is a co-founder of a very nice company, tech, data science. It's QuantCube. And then we have Kat Borlonga. So Kat is a long-term friend, who is a role model also, as she had a fantastic story before joining the French government, as head of the French tech. So, the title would be, how do you tell your job? So,
Director
of French tech. So I'm going to start, with a few figures. You know that only one woman out of 10 has is now, the CEO of a company. So when you look at the tech founders, you have one woman out of 9 men. So it's very few. Only 10% roughly of the investment decisions in the world are taken by women. So we still have room. We still, if we look at the time we would need to have equality, diversity in terms of in the tech, SISTA, we have to wait until 2090. So we miss 70 years to go to the diversity. But however, 3 examples that it's possible to be there. I'm going to start with Sophie. So Sophie, CTO of Atos. So how have you been able to, become the top role in a tech company? You're very few in the world. Do you have other?
The figures, because you gave for CEO and investors, regarding CTO, Gartner states you have less than 10% female CTO. So it's true that it's too few, and let's not wait until 2080 to be at parity. So what happened to me, I'm an engineer. It's my passion. I decided 30 years ago to go and work in computer science. And because I was very interested in software, algorithmy, writing a problem in instructions, making it run on the hardware, understanding the underlying infrastructure, the cybersecurity attached. So this was my passion. So I went to Bulle to work because I wanted, as a French engineer, to design hardware, but also software. And I wanted also to do some management. So very early, I managed technical teams, and then up to CTO of Atos.
Yeah, so, and then Kat, you're founder of a company, and now you're part of the French government. You're not French, or you're French, but you came from another country. Yes, you're French. Do you see that, is it still a topic, this topic of the boys' club versus women club? Or, have you been able to see improvements since you joined the French tech? How do you think is it an issue for you?
No. It is the issue for me. Look at what French tech is dealing with right now. We're dealing about the future of cybersecurity and the protection of our countries. We're talking about the future of the environment. We're talking about the way that we're going to live and work and raise our kids. And do you really want to leave all of these issues to just men?
No.
So it is the issue. It is the issue because of that. It is also the issue because I don't see a world where French tech or the French, like France as a country, succeeds in the rebound if half of us are held back. So yeah, it's still a massive issue. It's still something that we're struggling with at almost every single possible level, all the way from our children who are still trying to still want to be more like Elsa than Mulan or whatever, or when we have founders that some that come knocking on your door that are looking for funding, when they have to deal with clients, when they have to deal with their bankers, it's still way too prevalent considering what is truly at stake here.
Yeah, but apparently, we have some founders who are women. Rizlen, you're part of the 8 women out of 10 who have co-founded a company. This is a statistic we have, by the way, at One Ragtime, is that we see 1 project out of 10 co-founded by a woman, and we have the same, unfortunately, ratio in investment. Was it complex to raise funds, and for you, as a woman, or no?
I would say, to be honest with you, I really love the journey of raising funds. Of course, there is a lot of issues over there. Of course, in the deal flow and deal sourcing, we have less projects led by women and less startups co-founded and founded by women. But also in the other side, you have less representativity within of women within VCs. So of course, I think in fintech, out of 78 partners of VC funds, you have only 5 women as partners. This is a big deal and a big issue when you have to make the investment decisions, of course. And I think there is some biases over there that we need to deal with at a certain point. But when you are a woman and you would like to raise funds, of course, you need to forget all about those figures and those statistics that can affect your way of raising funds or your abilities, or even in an unconscious way, put you in a position where you take less risk, of course. But at the end of the day, the journey is still the same, even if women has to be, I would say, has to show more combativity and to show more ambition than men.
So this is the issue. But then, how do we organize a women's club? What can we do? And what can we do, all of us at our level? Maybe Sophie, at Atos, you're CTO, so how many... do you foster women? How do you give the passion for tech for young women?
Yeah, I think, at Atos we are about 30%, a little bit above 30% of women. What I see is that things are really evolving. When I started, even if you look at the vocabulary, when I started, we used to talk about computer science. Now we talk about digital. Why? Because 30 years ago, we manage, back-end processes of the enterprise. And now today, really digital is around us. We have applications on our phone. You just, if you want to book a taxi, if you want to look at a weather forecast, if you want to look at a stock price, but also for the enterprise, things are changing. You have a lot of things that is enabled by digital and mainly by artificial intelligence. And here I see a big switch that could let women come, because they're going to be working on more purpose around how to increase profitability of the enterprise, how to change many things. And I think this is the way that women will come to tech, because it is changing and it is really impacting our lives.
So, yeah, definitively, we need to make this attractive, because this is also where we have the job creation going forward. So, Kate, with French Tech, is there, there's this diversity index you monitor? No? Not really. How do you do to? I've heard that there was an index where whenever you back a program, you had to add the ratio of diversity. So how do you call that?
Yeah. So good point. So we are actually one of the very proud sponsors of this event, and like every single event that we sponsor, we put in a very strict quota that's actually written into the contract that says that if there are less than 35% female speakers, then we reserve the right to pull out our funding. I think that stems from something. I think when I first started this job, I was very optimistic about the issue of diversity and certainly gender equality. And so we were kind of like, you all remember this phase, we were all encouraging it. We're like, yes, you need to support other women, like this is so much injustice, whatever. And then 1 year later, I'm like, wait a minute, nothing is changing. So I'm done asking, or I'm done encouraging. At this point, we just need to start demanding. And so this is something that's written into every single partnership that anyone will ever have with the French Tech, both in France and abroad, and is also part of our speaking policy. No one from my team or myself will ever, or even from our capitals and communities will ever speak at an event where there are less than 35% of women represented on stage.
So we need ratio. Huh? But at least, I mean, we see here we're 4 women, so we tick the ratio, and we're very proud, by the way, at France Digital Board, is that we have more women than men. So yes, we're definitively organizing the Women's Club, but with diversity and inclusion. So I guess this is what is important beyond the male-woman topic. It's also the diversity and the inclusion. So in QuantCube, you're the CEO, so you can do whatever you want to make that change. Is there something specific you're doing in the recruitment to reach this 35-40 ratio you have, even 50, I mean, in terms of male and women?
Actually, I'm very proud about that. We are really 50-50 in terms of, I would say, balance between men and women. And of course, I have women that are data scientists, women that are developers, women that take decisions at every stage of the company. And this is really something I'm really proud of. Of course, diversity is also important. One thing which is really unique about QuantCube is that we are also a very diverse company. We have 13 different nationalities internally, and we loved people with diversified backgrounds as well. So this is something important. And of course, I think it's really important to put in place a specific recruitment process in order to get that. I mean, so in my position, actually, the work we have done with the team is really to put a specific process in place while recruiting people and make sure to avoid all possible biases. So this is really important. So we focus really on the personality, on the potential, and the motivation of each candidate. We don't see which school they are actually graduating from, if they are men or women. We put all those types of criteria in aside, and we deal only with the personality. And this is something that really makes the difference. The other thing is, once we have the good candidate in front of us, what we try to do is really to speak with him about his desires of, I would say, of evolution and career and so on. And we try from the early beginning to have a specific track for each person. And this is really important, to have them completely committed and engaged.
Okay, sounds amazing. And at Atos, I guess that you have the same type of approach. Maybe a question that was not forecast. But what do you think of the maternity leave at the same level for father and mother? I'm a big believer that the day we give that for everybody the same amount of time to be off when you're new parents, that changes a lot. Do you promote that? Not yet?
But, you know, when I had my children, there was no father leaves, only the women's leave. I guess women would need more, you know. We need to rest. I had 3 children. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's a very good thing that a father can take some leave and take care of the children, help the mother. I think it's a very good thing. What I think also is that what I see at Atos, you know, we have 2 problems to tackle. The first one is the recruitment, having more women in tech. The second one is to make sure that women get a leadership position, because today this is not the case. And on those 2 aspects, I think we have to work as hard towards the women. So tell them how fun it is, how great it is to be in tech. And okay, so we have actions within Atos around that. And then also we need to have them in leadership position. And again here, 2 actions towards women. Come on, go for those positions, because here again you can have, you know, an impact on the strategy and also on the technology, on the people, on the skills. And also we need to work on the men, on their awareness. And here again, what we are doing at Atos, we are developing some mentoring program to work on those 2 aspects.
Kate, French Tech, I mean, you see, I mean, only 1 project out of 10 led by a woman when we look at the ratio. How do we change that? What could we do? I mean, is there something to do with the women entrepreneurs? You've been a woman entrepreneur, you've been now in a French organization, you came from Philippines. So you're clearly an example that it is possible. What has made that possible for you?
I want to sort of say that I don't think I should be the case that we're looking at here. I think when we think about policies for diversity and gender equality, you shouldn't look at people like me who lead, important teams inside government, or the CEO of a strong company, or the CTO. You need to look at all of the women who are not being put on stage, who don't have a voice, who are in lower positions inside companies, who are, struggling with self-doubt every day, wondering if they should launch their companies. And so, so to a certain extent, I feel like a lot of the debate on, women and equality has been more about well, how do we get from VP to CTO, right? Yeah. And I think those are important, but I think we also have to remember that most of the time when we're fighting for the people who can't be here and who can't really speak. So on that note, we spoke a little bit about mentorship. I think that's so important, and where I think that's also important, it's important, I think, of course, for the mentees, right? Because I know I needed a lot of guidance, and I was struggling, and I was feeling, when I started the French Tech Mission. I remember my first few days, we were right away with the president, with the ministers. I'm like an immigrant, I didn't speak French 10 years ago, and I was always second guessing myself, wondering if I was good enough, and I think a lot of women are struggling with this sort of thing more than men, because people are more likely sometimes to question, hey, is she the director of French Tech because she's awesome, or is she the director of French Tech because they needed to cast a female, young, visible minority, right? So I think when it comes to mentorship, it's about reaching out. It's about knowing that people, making yourself available and letting people know that they can reach out. But I think it's also accepting to be a mentor, which is a huge step for a lot of women. A lot of women think they're not good enough to help other people. And this is something ideal. So the French Tech, you talked about 1 out of 10. French Tech 120 only has 3 female founder CEOs, right? 3 out of 123. And they're not the 3 that you see super often, right? You don't necessarily people know Julia Bijawi and stuff like that, but I don't know if anyone could off the top of their head guess who the other 2 are, right? So I think part of it also for women is that we have to accept that we are role models already, even at the levels of success that we feel like are not high enough. And we have to accept that, and we have to accept to speak on stage, even though it feels kind of awkward to, I'm not gonna lie to you, it feels super awkward to me. We just launched we just announced 7 billion. We did all of this crazy work during the crisis, and I'm speaking on a panel about women, right? So, I mean, that's there's a part of that I'm not gonna lie to you, is almost slightly humiliating. But I also understand that it's so necessary, and it's something that we have to do because these are messages that need to go out.
You know what? I had the same feeling when I look at this panel and I say, wow, it's weird. We are at France Digital and we need to have a panel on the women's club or boys club. But guess what? Because this is not changing. We need that because, unfortunately, this is not changing at the pace it should be changing. So if we let it down, it will not change. So we have still to open the voice and to say, yes, this has to change. And all of us, we can be the driver of change. And all of you here, you should be the driver of change.
Do you mind if I just plug in something really quick? So speaking about change, it's always a really great call to action. Everyone here, I think, is for diversity, I'm guessing, but I think very few of us are actually very sure on what works. You know what I mean? Will quotas work? Will doing more panels work? If the French Tech decides to put in millions to fund more female panels, will that change things? And the truth is I think if we knew exactly what worked, we would put the money on the table right now and make it go away. But the problem is that we don't. So the French Tech Mission is organizing something called the French Tech Community Fund, which is actually a competition. There's 1 million out of the 3 million actually that's entirely dedicated to talent and inclusion. So if anyone who is from startups here and that have great projects that can push forward these types of issues, we're really eager to to see the applications, to see your projects. The tickets are from 20,000 to 100,000. We just opened applications this week, and they won't close until the end of October.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. I think this is the best way to be competing to win this project. We are at the end of the panel, so maybe we have time for a quick question from the audience. No? Yes? Yes. Please, it's not organized, but shout.
So you said a lot should be done to empower women and to encourage diversity and inclusion. Shouldn't it be done way earlier before people start up? I know that like in schools, you should talk to girls, little girls, and encourage them. And I know that very little is done. And I think it should start here, so you have more women at the end.
Absolutely. For example, we're having some actions like that. Our campus management is organizing conferences with schools, engineering, but also business schools to show them how great it is, the technology we are in. We have also some partnership with some startups, like, for example, Social Builder, where we help women who chose another way. I mean, they went in, I don't know, something else than tech, and now we mentor them and we help them go and be Java coders or things like that. So we do have those kind of initiatives, yeah.
There's actually this very sad story that Claude Terrosier, who runs Magic Makers, tells often about what she thinks is one of the largest blockers of women in tech. And she runs this coding school for kids, and what she tells me is that sometimes when people come over to drop their sons, they have their daughters with them, and when she asks them, hey, why are you taking your son? Why can't you take your daughters? Like, oh wait, we didn't realize this was for girls too, or we didn't think that would be great for girls. And so yeah, it starts really early, and I think there's a lot of pressure that's put on institutions, but I don't think there is a more effective vehicle for change than parents. And that's parenting both to little boys and to little girls, and there's really only so much the state can do. The truth is that when it comes to something like this, I can't think of anything more powerful than, say, like Netflix. You know what I mean? Like, there's no government program that is ever going to really make that kind of difference that individuals can make in their own homes.
I think you're right. Education is key. I think it's definitely the first step. But maybe to end up with a note of optimism, I can see, even if it's very, very, very little, but things are starting to change. Because while I'm interviewing some very young candidates coming in from engineering schools and very talented girls and so on, you can feel that they are really eager to change things. Even men, even I would say. So I'm very happy to see that it's really coming in right now. It's really slow. We need to encourage that, and of course we need to have more women and more girls coming in the scientific educations, going to engineering school, and having opportunities to go for an entrepreneurial journey. This is for sure.
And speaking to all the fathers who are here, I mean, if you have daughters, please tell them that how fun it is to be a doctor, a developer, to go for engineering. I mean, often it starts with the father and the mother encouraging their daughters to do that and to have impossible dreams that come possible. So we will end up in a very positive note, as 50% of the workforce is women. So we have 50% of the workforce to make sure it becomes talented CTO, entrepreneurs, VC, government ladies. And clearly, I hope that we will not have to wait until 90s, 70 years to be not to be here, by the way, to have a boys' club session. How to organize a boys' club? What is diversity? What is the day of the men? So I hope not. Thanks to all, and please take that as something that you should action yourself at your level. Make it work.